You all know I'm not a big Nintendo enthusiast. Love their games, hate the company. I have not bought a Nintendo product in a long time now, and I don't have any plans on starting anytime soon. I just do not agree with the company's business practices. Full stop. And I am proven time and time again to be on the correct side of history with this personal decision of mine. I cannot stand this company. I'm sure a lot of you are seeing the headlines right now about how Nintendo has successfully filed a patent in the US on summoning a character and letting it fight another. Basically, the media is claiming that this patent is going to stop other games from having summoning that will allow the summon to follow you and fight others for you, which is a very basic gameplay mechanic for tons and tons and tons of games. Summoning has been a staple in gaming since the beginning of time, since the first couple of cavemen banging stones together, thinking of video games in his head. Summoning has just always been there. Obviously, this is laser focused on Pal World because Nintendo is deep on that case. They're pulling out all the stops. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to recruit God Almighty to come down and smite Pal World HQ for the sin of stepping on Pokemon's creature-catching toes. But tons of people are worried with the way that the patent is currently filed that this will hit things far beyond just creature-catching games. It will hit tons of products that have summoning as a mechanic, which is a very basic gameplay element. So things like Final Fantasy, Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, or even classes in video games that use pets and minions. So like Diablo with Necromancy, World of Warcraft with Hunter, where you'd summon your pets to go attack the bad guys, that kind of thing. They believe that this patent is also potentially going to have ramifications on that, which again is a very basic gameplay element that games have used for decades. And I've now read through the patent, suffered through all of those pages, because I could not believe that this would even be something that could be successfully filed, because it's unenforceable. Like, you can't expect every game that uses summoning to now not be able to do that because they'd, be fucking suckling off the teat of Nintendo's patent. There's just no world where that would actually go through properly. It couldn't. And after the agonizing misery of going through all of these pages, which at times feel unnecessarily bloated in explanations, especially their background, like, Jesus Christ, you could have boiled that down to like a page or two. Like, holy shit, that's like me explaining a peanut butter and jelly in like fucking 2,000 words. But like, I went through all of this, and it seems like a lot of it is pretty specific. Though I do think there is wiggle room for some broad interpretations of the filing. It seems like what they are specifically claiming are kind of pretty like laser guided on Pal World itself. It seems like they're mainly just using patents as a weapon solely for Pal World. But I do think it opens the door that there could be some problems down the line in other avenues, but I would be very surprised to see this patent actually having an effect on any games currently out there that aren't Pal World, which I still think is just dog shit. And I hate this direction Nintendo takes these days, where they patent everything. Everything Nintendo has ever used in a game, Nintendo now wants to patent to stop others from even thinking about exploring creative options with those kind of mechanics. I think that is so anti-creative expression, and it is stifling to creativity in this medium. I think it super sucks. So even if this is specific enough to only hurt Pal World, I still think this is fucking horrible overall, where anytime there's a game that they have issue with, they'll just patent things around it, so that way they can more effectively take them down. So let's go ahead and take a deeper dive here into exactly what they've now registered, what Nintendo owns entirely that no one else can touch anymore. This is their holy grail mechanics. Performing control of moving a player character on a field in a virtual space based on a moving operation input. Performing control of causing a sub-character to appear on the field based on a first operation input. And when an enemy character is placed at a location where the sub-character is caused to appear, controlling a battle between the sub-character and the enemy character by a first mode in which the battle proceeds based on an operation input, and when the enemy character is not placed at the location where the sub-character is caused to appear, starting automatic control of automatically moving the sub-character that has appeared, and performing control of moving the sub-character in a predetermined direction on the field based on a second operation input, and when the enemy character is placed at a location of a designation, controlling a battle between the sub-character and the enemy character by a second mode in which the battle automatically proceeds. I know that jargon can be a little confusing and hard to understand exactly what it's saying. Unfortunately, that's just how a lot of patent filings sound, like somebody overdosing while trying to explain string theory. this article kind of breaks it down into like what exactly it means. So like move character in virtual space, summon character, call it sub-character, by which means it's not the player character. For example, a little monster like a Pokemon that the player has at its disposal. Then there's alternating scenarios here where the sub-character is summoned in a place where there's already a character, so then it will fight. And then it is summoned in a place where there is not another character, so it doesn't fight immediately. The final step is about sending the sub-character in a direction, then letting an automatic battle ensue with another character. Then if you look at their flowchart, they have like the entire thing broken down here about the field processing. You move character, control enemy character, they come in contact. Basically it goes through what a battle looks like. So then throwing motion instruction, and then it goes through their checks. Is there selection target? And then if there is, sub-character will appear. Sub-character fights. Basically, if you read through this, it is like the Pokemon formula. This may be a look at the Krabby Patty and what goes on it here, but this isn't actually overly relevant to the patent and their claims in it. This is them laying out their flow as examples of their processing and how all of it plays out. That is not what they are specifically targeting. So that's figures 18 through 22, and they're shown as an example of how their processing is executed in these games. But the patent isn't aiming to just patent everything you read in that flowchart. Reading through this patent, it is looking at these sub-characters that get summoned, and if they are summoned on top of an enemy in a persistent environment, it will automatically fight the enemy. If it is summoned when there is no enemy present, it will follow the player around performing autonomous actions, that kind of thing. Specifically, I believe it would be manual versus automatic. So if a game has both manual and automatic battling for these summons, then these would apply. So like, if you're summoned skeletons or something as a necromancer, if there are no enemies, they will go find one and then automatically fight it, I believe, would then be an application. Again, it is pretty confusing, but what they are listing here with their Pokemon flow is just examples of what like they have and what they aim to protect through these patents. The claims are the important parts of what they are filing, which many are interpreting as pretty broad. And there is room that it could be viewed broadly. Yes, it seems like it looks to, put the lock and key on Nintendo's toys so no one ever gets to play with them again. But the way that you can read this filing does apply to more than just like the creature catching aspect of Nintendo Pokemon games and stuff like that. Like, I can understand confusion because it is confusing. It is weird. It is messy. And this is entirely uncalled for and unnecessary. And even, again, if it is specific to Palworld alone, this threat of a patent that Nintendo owns around summoning and certain things with summoning might just be a deterrent from someone else out there looking to explore a creature-catching game, or a game that uses some kind of summoning mechanics in, like, a container. Because Nintendo now has, like, the Pokeballs and, like, creatures held in something that you throw. Like, them just having so many patents that they squat on, and them being as litigious and aggressive as they are, that in and of itself can just be a weapon. Like that fear of Nintendo coming at you legally for one of your gameplay ideas that maybe doesn't have anything to do with like Pokemon, but it could still fall under their interpretation of a patent, that now they don't want to like mess around with that idea anymore because they can't afford to get sued by Nintendo. Them just having all of these patents that are applying to broad ideas, even if they are specific enough in the actual filing, is still just scary to a lot of developers, I imagine, that can't afford to be targeted and attacked by Nintendo, even if they haven't done anything wrong. So they might not even take the chance of making that game. I just think it is just so shitty across the board. I feel like I got a little lost in the sauce on my explanation. Basically what I'm saying is, even if these patents are specific enough to only target Palworld, which again I think is already shitty in and of itself, but even if it doesn't apply to other things, the confusion around these patents, and since they are targeting very basic gameplay ideas like summoning, people that are developing a game that uses summoning in some way that is even remotely adjacent to a creature catcher might be hesitant about pulling the trigger on development and going down that path because they could be afraid Nintendo would target them because of this patent. So like them just going down this path of patent everything, even if it doesn't target everyone now has to be aware of that and be like kind of worried, like, well, what's Nintendo going to do with it, and does it apply to my game? Is my game falling under these specific criteria? Because it might be, I'm not really sure. So it just becomes a big problem across the board, in my eyes. it just attacks creativity. It just makes it harder to explore ideas from other people because Nintendo might come after them. And Nintendo is not shy about going after, like, literally anybody. They will target someone that only has, like, 5 followers on itch.io if they think they stepped on their fucking trademarks or something. Like, they will. So it becomes just a blanket threat. Nintendo with patents is a grizzly bear with a bazooka. Truly just unpredictable, but very dangerous for sure. Like, it is just a legitimately concerning thing for developers because now Nintendo will enforce those patents strictly, and you're not entirely sure if, like, well, does my summoning mechanics fall under these criteria? Potentially, I'm not really sure, you know? It just becomes bad. I don't like it. I think it is super shitty, and I'm so fucking tired of Nintendo's antics. I still have no plans on buying any Nintendo products. That has not changed. So, yeah, that's really about it. See ya.